Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and it's my first video in over a week, and we're going back to reviewing some hands that I played on Sky Poker, and this is mostly, or well, exactly, because I am pretty much done with playing any kind of speed poker on the main sites, and not far off being done with playing poker on the main sites in general, just because of how poor a lot of the games are. I guess if we were to go game start on somewhere like AAA at 20 and 30NL, 50NL, we'd probably do okay. 50NL full ring, maybe not so much the 6 max. Not so much on Poker Stars because there's just people on there probably still running scripts. Whenever I've seen a table open and like one player sit without 100 big blinds, the tables tend to fill remarkably quickly, mostly with tight players, regulars, whatever you want to call them, and the games just never seem to be really that good. On top of that, when you're playing on sites like Poker Stars and Party Poker, there's all kinds of third-party software is available to people that give them all kinds of assistance, and I just can't be asked playing against people who are using multiple pieces of software to try and like drag out whatever tiny edge they can without actually using their own powers of observation and what have you. So yeah, we're not going to be playing too much on there. It's really important right now that I make money from poker, because currently I am just with one relief job contract until my other job comes through again, and poker's going to be playing a bigger part of my income in the next, well, at least for the next month, I would say, if not longer, depending on how it goes. The longer we do well, the more I'm just going to keep doing more poker and less of the day job. So it's really important for me to just find really good situations and make the most of them where I can, and that means not playing against as many regulars, trying to play against as many fish as I can, trying to play as short-handed as possible versus fish, which gives me the best chance of getting most of the money on the table. So that's the plan going forward, and most of these hands, they're not going to be like super challenging. A lot of them are just going to be examples of how easy it is, well, not how easy it is, how much simpler poker is when you're just playing heads up, two-handed, three-handed against really weak opponents, and how easy it is to really put quite a big chunk into your bottom line. Way easier than it is playing in tough speed poker games or on the major sites where there's just lots more regulars around and just not a particularly good fish to regular ratio. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. I make no apologies for my game selection, bum hunting, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I make no apologies whatsoever. I actually recommend more people should do it, especially the guys who are struggling to make money elsewhere. But everyone's each to their own. Not many people go down the route I'm going down, and I think it's to their detriment that they don't do that. But yeah, we say each to their own, and I'm not going to complain that there's not many doing it. This is a good example, this first hand, and the second hand we're going to look at. Fair enough, it is 10 to 2 in the morning, so there's not going to be a lot of regulars around. But when I was playing this table against this guy, I was playing, I think, a couple of other tables too, and there was regulars at those tables that never even bothered coming and taking any of those empty seats, which is really nice. It's pretty nice when regulars just have their number of tables and don't bother scanning the lobby to like substitute bad tables for good tables, because it gives us the opportunity to play for 5 minutes or more heads up against fish, which quite often is long enough to relieve them of whatever money they started the hand with. Let's get this speed up a little higher before we start. So we start in this hand, we have 10-9 in the big blind, heads up, and opponent min raises. We have an easy defend. Flop the flush draw, he bets 30. I haven't reviewed any of these hands back. I think we probably need to raise here. Calling wouldn't be dreadful because we're just getting fantastic pot odds. Wouldn't necessarily expect him to fold an ace or maybe even a king to a raise, but we have like plenty of equity, so I don't hate calling, but I much prefer seeing a raise here. We do make a raise, perhaps not big enough. opponent calls, we make our flush on the turn, so then we just start betting really big, because when our opponent calls here, it's likely he has ace X, strong king X, occasionally flush draws, I guess, but obviously we block them pretty hard. He can't have like queen 10, jack 10, jack 9, queen 9, 8 9. There's, you know, lots and lots of flush draws he just can't have. So I'm still very confident we have the best hand at this point, and we just need to be betting for value, hope another heart doesn't come on the river, which will kill our action, or maybe even kill our hand. Our opponent calls, and then the board pairs on the river, which isn't ideal. Looks like I'm going to check here, and do I like the check or not? No, I think we just need to bet. And I guess if we check, we can consider going for a raise. So I wouldn't hate the check raise, but I think I prefer just leading out, and leading out pretty big as well. You know, anything from like way over half pot anyway. Anything above like 550 through to full pot. And that's too small, Reggie. Too small. Yeah, that's way too small. I mean, if our opponent has like ace X here, so he's now got like aces and threes with a king, so his kicker's not really relevant. Yeah, we need to go bigger here. That's just way too small. I mean, he's guaranteeing the call from like all of his king X, probably, definitely all of his ace X. Yeah, I should definitely go bigger here. Now he puts a raising. Wow, how quick did I call there? That is too quick. Let's just take it back a fraction. Can we do that? Can we take it back? Yeah. Just watch how quick this call is. I mean, I didn't even contemplate like just jamming, and maybe that's not the worst thing. Like a medium flush on a paired board. Maybe call's the right decision, but wow. Wow, I made it way too quick. And now I know that we're watching back on at fast speed, but just how far does my timer go around? Yeah, it went down. Didn't even go down a quarter. So I think I should have definitely taken some more time over that. I probably still would have just called. But I think I made a mistake in the hand by not betting bigger on the turn, and by not at least stopping to think about putting the rest of the money. He's only got 782 left, so we should at least have considered jamming. As it happens, he just had king 10, so we wouldn't have got any more value. And I guess maybe our small bet induced a raise, but I wasn't betting small to induce a raise. It wasn't my plan to do that. And yeah, I don't think I played this hand particularly well, but that's going to be the case in like quite a few of these hands where I don't think I played really well in the last 2 weeks, but I've made, you know, a decent chunk of money. And that's one of the benefits of game selecting really well. If you do drop off your A game, it's still very possible to make money still. And then yeah, because I don't think I played anywhere near my best in the last 2 weeks, but we made a decent chunk of money, and yeah, we'll take it. So we move on to the next hand, and this hand isn't really that interesting at all. It's just an example of finishing off a guy like really quite quickly. I mean, we stack him on this hand. There's a spoiler alert. We finish him off, and we've been playing for like maybe 6 minutes against a guy. So we defend the king deuce. We flop trips. It's going to be all very uninteresting. We check call the flop. We check. Well, we just check jam the turn by the looks of things. He doesn't exactly snap us off, but he calls with the ace-4, drawing virtually dead. And there we go. Within like 5 minutes, we've managed to pick up nearly £22 from a fish. And I'm not saying it's that easy all the time. We're not making £22 every 5 minutes. But we're going to have a really good win rate and a really good hourly doing this. And yeah, it's something I'm looking forward to doing for like the foreseeable future. It's just a lot more fun playing against bad players, making more money, not having lots and lots of like mind-bendingly tough decisions in relatively low stakes games against relatively like tight, competent players. I've been really enjoying it, and my last video was quite negative because of the games I was like kind of forcing myself to play just to create content, and I just thought, no, we can't just keep producing negative videos. Nobody wants that. So yeah, hopefully the next few videos for the so foreseeable future are going to be like this, kind of like a blog thing again, and yeah, hopefully they'll have a lot more positive tone to them. So sadly in this hand we missed the pre-flop action, but if I recall correctly, I think it had gone limp under the gun. I overlimped the deuces, this guy overlimped. I think this guy made it something like 5x from the big blind, I'm not sure, and I think he called and he called a we called. That's why there was like £4 in the pot to begin with, or just under £4, and he's gone with the all-in. We flop a set, it's nothing exciting. As I said, these hands aren't going to be super interesting. Hopefully they're just going to be really good demonstrations of how nice it is to play with players that make some utterly horrendous mistakes and just dump chips on you. So here we flop the set. We obviously have like an incredibly trivial call or jam. However we do it, we jam. And that opponent shows up with the hand that's drawing dead, and this happens a decent chunk of the time when you're engaged with like truly bad players. You never see a regular doing this on any of the speed poker games. You never see a regular doing this in any kind of game. But when you're at a table with 1, 2, at least 3 fish, when you do make your hands, you're going to find it way easier to get paid with them. Now this was just a gift, of course, but the biggest part of playing in these games is very clearly, you know, being able to get value. When you get big hands, getting paid off for them with a much higher frequency, and that's what makes the speed poker games so much tougher. Not necessarily because regs are putting you in like really tough positions all the time and you're constantly just back to the wall thinking, what the fuck do I do next? It's just very much that, you know, there's just pots aren't very big. There's just a lot of like fold, and you only get to see big pots really when there's a big cooler going on, and a lot of the time it's just like raise pre, c-bet, take it down, or what have you, and it's just not that easy to get value in games where there's lots of like relatively tight players. But when you're playing in games where you get guys that do this, it's really nice, and this doesn't happen all the time, of course, but the amount of people that have just spewed stacks off, and I've seen people spewing stacks off left and right with hands I've not been involved in, it makes me a little bit sad that for the last who knows how long time now, 12 months or more, I abandoned my strategy of bum hunting, and it was mostly in the interest of like my YouTube channel and trying to promote my coaching by demonstrating that I'm a competitive winning player in tough games. And yeah, whilst I still want to carry on with the coaching, I'm going to get back to being true to myself and true to what I am, and that is someone who takes game selection incredibly seriously and just makes a ton of money at the poker table. And if that means that the YouTube channel suffers or the coaching suffers, then so be it. I mean, hopefully people will still find these videos somewhat interesting, nowhere near as educational possibly, but still find them somewhat interesting. And if not, and if it just turns out there isn't an interest in them, and that means the coaching goes by the wayside, then so be it. You know, I'm primarily a player first, and a coach, content creator second, and I think I've been putting the cart before the horse a little bit, and been putting the content and the coaching before actually just ensuring I'm making hundreds of pounds a month, you know, if not up to £1,000 a month, and just playing poker. So a definite change of priorities, and it feels really good. And then when things like this happen, it just kind of really validates my decision and makes me really happy with the choice that I've made. So this is a hand that I ended up not being involved in, but I noticed it and I think we captured it, and it's a lot of fun. This guy's like a pretty, well, very bad aggressive fish. He 3-bets, and we automatically decide to fold. Don't want to play, even though he's a bad aggressive fish, I don't particularly want to be putting 10 and a half blinds in pre, out of position with king queen. against someone who's just going to be like really aggressive post flop. We're going to miss a lot. We're not really going to know if we're ahead, because we could easily be ahead of his range here. But I'm going to find better spots than playing king queen off out of position versus his 3-bets. He's not like super aggro with the 3-bets. He's more of a like aggro whale post flop than pre flop. But yeah, we elected to bail out of this hand. Obviously, we would have flopped the nuts, so I was quite disappointed when I saw that we would have flopped the nuts. And it just gets worse. We flicked off to this table. Are we going to go back to the... Please tell me we're going to go back to the table. We might not. We might end up not going back to it, which will be quite horrifying if we don't. No, looks like we're not going to go back to it. Well, what happened at the other table was we flopped the nuts. Both those guys got it all in on the flop. And the aggressive fish had 3-bet me pre with 3-4 offsuit, and just like, I think he jammed over a donk bet. Yeah, we've missed it now, so that's unfortunate. But so if we rewind back to it just so we can see. Oh, it's gone manky now. It's all going manky. Oh yeah, I've gone too far now. I fucked it up. But anyways, yeah, the guy who 3-bet me, he had 3-4 offsuit that he 3-bet me with, and then just went crazy on the 9-10 jack flops. That was one that got away. But I wanted to just show you guys the hand. I probably should have checked that, actually fucking captured it first, but never mind. So this hand we have the Reggie time special, the 2 aces. We obviously raise under the gun. We get called by a moderate regular and 2 fish. This regular here is pretty aggressive, and this fish was like pretty aggressive too. So rather than just like bet here, like for whatever, we could bet for like 160, 180, and just like get a streak that way. I decided that I was willing to stack off at this point. If either of these guys have got a set, then good for them. Very much doubt 6-5s out there. It could be, of course, but if it is, so what? And we blocked the ace-5 pretty hard. So I was kind of confident one of these guys would bet, and I wanted to just get a check raise in straight away and try and block the pot as quickly as I could to get maximum value from maybe some overpairs or what have you, if there are any overpairs out there. So I did go for the check multi-way because it looks like I'm giving up a lot. So this regular, if he's got a hand like 2 8s, 2 9s, it looks a lot like we don't have 2 aces. He can easily value bet his 2 8s, 2 9s against 2 fish. If he bets these guys call, then we get to get a really good, nice check raise in. And then if this guy goes all in, he's probably got a set, but maybe he has jacks or something, and we get to felt them and get all the money in before things get too complicated. So that was the line. He did bet. Everybody called. We put the chunky raise in, which is just clearly never ever a bluff. This is just, I never do this as a bluff. Even if I had like pocket 5s, I wouldn't do this. Yeah, it's just never ever ever a bluff. The regular gets out of the way. And eventually jams the rest of his money in. We're obviously happy to call, and he shows us the 2 10s, and it's just another example of somebody overplaying. Yeah, I know it's just another fish, just donated some more money, and I've not done anything particularly like skillful in this hand. We just check raised a fish who's got like an overpaid himself and got maximum value. But again, it's just another example of how it's much easier to get value in these games. I mean, if this is a speed poker game and you're up against like instead of playing like a big whale, you're up against some guy who's got pocket 10s, but he's only playing say 18/7. He doesn't go broke here. He doesn't like rejam over the check raise very often. I mean, people just like probably makes it a good line to bluff. You know, big check raise when you're the pre-flop raise and a multi-way pot. Maybe it's a sexy bluff line, but I just don't think we get paid off anywhere near as much in this spot by 2 10s in tough games. I could be wrong, but we don't get the multi-way pots as often to begin with, and then we don't get to get a check raising against 3 players, get called or get jammed on and still be good. I mean, imagine how often that happens in the games you play. If you're playing like in speed poker games, how often do you get to check raise 3 players with just 1 pair and manage to get a 120 big blind pot coming your way It just doesn't happen. You don't get this kind of service in the better games, and it's just another example. It's not putting in because I think I played the hand well or anything like that. I've just been putting hands in there that I believe are a good example of things that happen when you game select well, that just don't happen when you're not giving much attention to game selection. So we haven't got as many hands as I first thought because I've just skipped 3 hands from my third video that I recorded because they were all really dull. They were properly just fish donating, but they were only donating like 40 and 50 blinds, and I didn't capture all the hands fully, so we've skipped them. So we've got 5 more hands on here. I haven't looked at them all in advance, so maybe some of these will be crap too, who knows, but we're looking at them now. We have the Ace Queen of Diamonds here, obviously like a super standard open. We know we have 2 fish for sure. Don't know about this guy. He's not tagged, and obviously I can't see his name. We flop trip aces, which is really nice, and I put this hand in for, I talked about this in a previous video about how I'm leaning much more towards just fast playing when I flop a big hand these days, and that's not just in soft games, it was in when I was playing like some of the tougher games too, because I think a lot of the old adages of just call, keep their bluffs in. I think especially against good players now, they don't have air enough of the time to justify calling to keep the bluffs in. When good players are betting and raising these days, it's usually with hands that they might well be betting just air one street, but I don't believe people are doubling and triple barreling air. That's the point I'm trying to make. I think people will see bet air, people will stab with air, but when they get called, they shut down with air, and then only tend to continue with that really strong draws and strong made hands. So I'm not that into call, let them carry on bluffing air as a line much anymore, unless I have a dead cert read that someone's definitely doing that, because I just don't believe many players are doing it. I think people's c-betting ranges are quite well refined that allow them to, so they're cutting out less of like the really weak shit c-bets and focusing more on betting hands that they can double and triple barrel with. So if someone's got a hand that they're going to willing to like double and triple barrel with, i.e. they flopped a strong made hand here like ace x or a flush draw, they're going to call a raise anyway, and let's just fast play rather than keeping bluffs in. It's I think if you're getting like raised on the street and you literally only have a bluff catcher, then maybe there's merit there to just call and check and just let people keep whatever small amounts of bluffs they've got in. But when you're like somewhere near the top of it, I guess what I'm saying is I'm just not that into fast playing, slow playing my strong hands as much as I used to be. And this stands a good example of why I think I'm on the right track with this current train of thought. I think common logic here would be just call. Let him stay in with his weaker aces, let him stay in with like whatever other crap he's donking out with here, let players behind call with weaker aces and draws and things. But I think if we raise here and someone's got an ace, he ain't folding it. If you've got a flush draw, maybe we get the flush draw to fold, but that's not the end of the world if we do get a flush draw to fold. I just want to focus on felting this guy. If he is leading out here with like an ace, I want to get all the money in quickly before something comes to scare him, like a red card or what have you. And if he doesn't have an ace, then, you know, we just probably don't win a very big pot, but never mind. Did go for the raise though. Got the folds pretty quickly. Our opponent like snap calls and then just checks. We have like a super trivial jam here now, which is never folding an ace. Probably is folding a flush draw at this point, but yeah, whatever. We've got less than a pot size bet left, so we just smash it in. He caught us pretty quickly, drawing dead with 7-8. So again, just justification for not going with the slow play there. If we had maybe checked back the turn to induce or what have you, then the river comes to heart. We don't get paid, or even worse, he jams and we're like, oh fuck me, you must have a flush, and we sometimes make like some dreadful folds. I'm not sure, but just a good example of that. He's led out with 7-8 here. He's called a raise and he's just called a turn jam. So he's obviously just putting me on red ones, or just not giving a fuck and thinking I've got a pair and I'm not folding it. I'm not sure what it is, But I think it validates 2 points that I've been making during this video. One is which, you know, there's plenty of fish out there that are willing to give you like 55 big blinds with just like one pair on this board. And secondly, it's maybe not always that smart to slow play with your nutted stuff, because if someone's in there betting in multi-way pots and they do have any piece of the board, they probably aren't folding to a raise. So just fast play your hand, get all the fat value while you still like the situation, and just make life easier on yourself, I guess. So here we are against another green player heads up. We raise with the ace king. We get a pretty good flop. We see bet pretty small. It induces a raise, or we think it induces a raise. And again, the thing here is like, we're heads up against a green tag player. Do we just call here, keep his bluffs in, or do we just go with the 3-bet now and just try and get all the money in, when he can absolutely have like worst king X, he can have flush draws, he can have gut shots, who knows what else. I mean, he's just probably going to fold a lot when we do 3-bet. If he doesn't have a king, he's going to fold for sure. Unless he has like a flush draw or something, then he's not going to fold a flush draw. People don't fold flush draws heads up very often. Really good chance he just jams a flush draw on me and we get to get our money in with as like a 60-odd% favourite. I mean, I guess you could argue to take one off here, but we're in fast play mode. We do go with the fast play. Our opponent jams, we call, and sadly this time we're drawing virtually dead versus the set. You know, we've got backdoor flush outs and that's it, some backdoor straight draws. So this is like the counterbalance to the fast play, but this is going to happen from time to time. You know, when you fast play versus people raising you or betting into you, sometimes they're just going to have it. I've been finding it's been working out really well for me. From time to time they have had it and we've lost and we've had to take our medicine. But I think like top pair, top kicker, heads up, I mean, this seems pretty standard to me. When we see bet, he raises, we re-raise, he goes all in, we call, and we hope he's got the king queen, the king jack, the flush draw, the ace 2 or the ace 3 or the ace 5, you know, things like that maybe you could be spewing with. This time it didn't work out for us. And did we get there? Nope, we did not get there. And yeah, we're putting that hand in just for balance. You know, we've shown ourselves basically just felting a lot of fish for the entire video. There is obviously sometimes, you know, you don't always get to win versus them, and this is one of those times. But you give me this situation time and time again, he heads up against a green tag player, then I'm going to take it, and eventually and ultimately I'm going to end up with most of the money most of the time. So yeah, just take your lumps like a man and move on. Here we are again. That's another hand that we're going to be fast playing, I think. Not pre-flop. I've not been doing a ton of 3-betting, like offsuit broadways out of position. I mean, Friday I've not been getting an awful lot of folds, and then it's just been really difficult to proceed against calling stations post-flop when we miss most of the time. So I've kind of taken to not 3-betting these types of hands. I think there's nothing wrong with it if we do. I think it just like increases variance, doesn't necessarily increase my win rate very much, and just like makes life more difficult than it needs to be. I've been quite happy just calling and then check raising on some boards that are good, check raising on some boards that hit our perceived range, and just check folding quite a bit. It's been working out pretty well. We flop top pair. Let me check. Bet. I do go for the raise here, which some people might think, oh, it's a bit thin, we're only check raising top pair, you know, worse hands can't call very often, etc. Not much to protect against. I get all of these things, but again, we are up against a fish excuse me, who was raised and who was made a c-bet, and who probably has like a reasonable strength hand. But I think king queen is just going to be ahead of his range here. You know, he's a fish, he doesn't have to have aces, ace king, pocket fives, pocket sevens. There's lots of hands he's going to bet and continue with here versus this raise. He jams, we have the call, and there we go. Just straight away, it's just like getting in, you know, 60 blinds with like an SPR of like 10 with just top pair medium kicker. And again, it's just not the service you get on the the tighter games, 25-0 zoom, 30-0 snap, 25-0 fast forward. You don't get people doing this, you know. Maybe we still stack King Jack here when we check raise and go bet, but usually you're going to be playing against people who are 100 blinds deep, and they're going to be like way more willing to fold when you check raise them. And you know, you're not going to get players who just feel committed once they hit top pair and going broke. It's just another example of how much easier life is when you put yourself in situations where you're playing against players who just don't understand how important it is to not stack off with just one pair with like SPRs in double figures and things. And these guys just don't exist. Again, it's just another table where we've got 3 green tag players. I have a rule now, which is if there's more regulars than fish at the table, I just leave it most of the time, unless the fish is a massive whale and it's got a lot of chips. Usually I'll leave tables with 2 fish if there's 4 regulars, especially if the fish don't have full stacks. I mean, if the fish have full stacks, I'll stay sometimes. And if the regulars aren't the kind of regulars that just want to ruin the game by fucking 3-betting constantly and blasting fish out of pot, there's some regulars I'll happily just sit there, and it's like an unwritten rule or like an unwritten agreement, whatever you want to call it. And we just don't go out of each other's way to like outplay each other all the time. We know what we're there for. We're there to stack the fish, and you know, or chop the fish up between us or whatever. We've never had conversations with any of these players about this. It's just you kind of know what's going on. And then you get some of the other regulars that are just fucking complete dick wavers who all they want to do is just 3-bet constantly, 3-bet, 3, blast fish out of the pot, blast the eggs out of the pot. And they just spoil the game. They don't understand that what they're doing is like theoretically it's sound, but it doesn't get the money anywhere near as easily as just seeing flops against fish and felting them when they make some enormous post-flop mistakes. Even fish don't make huge mistakes pre-flop compared to the amount of enormous mistakes they make post-flop. And most semi-decent players on Sky understand it's not about fucking fighting regs versus regs, not at these stakes anyway. It's about getting at tables with fish, felting them, paying as little rake as possible, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And there's a good number of regulars who understand that, but there's maybe a small handful, 3 or 4 of them, who all they want to do is be captain aggro and 3-bet. And you guys probably know who you are, and you can all just go and fuck yourselves, because you don't understand. I mean, I see you sat there, you're playing each other at 8 different tables with 1 fish at each table, pissing contests against each other, and I'm pretty sure none of you are making much money. And then I'm just sat there picking all the low-hanging fruit and just wandering around the field, picking the apples up that have fallen to the ground, just reaching up, picking some nice low-hanging fruit. And yeah, good for you. You know, you might be at the tables, you might be like, oh, this is fucking Reggie, you're forced to way too many 3-bets and he's really easy to like make fold. You're right, I am. But I think at the end of the month I'm probably one that's certainly pre-rake back, that's coming out with much more than you are, and good luck to you. You've got your strategy, I've got mine, and without sounding like an arrogant dick, mine just works better most of the time. Here in this time we did something a little bit different, and it's a very good example of what I've just been talking about like not 3-betting regulars out of pots when this. I mean, look at this, we've got loads of fish behind, we have 2 kings. Now I devalue my equity quite a lot by just calling here and allowing other people to come along. But we could just 3-bet here. Everyone's going to fall behind us. We're going to isolate ourselves against the only semi-good player at the table. And yeah, we've got 2 kings, so who gives a fuck? Because we're still like way ahead. But nevertheless, a lot of the time we're just going to fold, and we're just going to end up winning 90 pence pre-flop, which I don't want to do with kings. I'm willing to compromise my equity somewhat to allow at least one or more of these players to come into the pot, then make a second best hand post flop and dump their stacks on me. In post flop, I'm going to be willing to go for. I mean, the only guy I'm probably not going to be willing to stack up against is if he c-bets multi-way, like in a heavily multi-way pot. I probably wouldn't be looking to like raise him post flop, but any of these other guys, we're going to be looking to like just bet and then not fall to raises, or if they bet, then we're just going to be looking to raise them and just get all the money in post flop, because against any of these guys, kings is still likely to be the best hand post flop if we can get all the money in. We're going to be up against sets and 2 pairs some of the time, of course. But if any of these guys flop top pair, post flop, and we manage to get a check raise in versus them, we're going to be able to get our money in really good. So I'm willing to allow these guys to realise a little bit more of their equity in the hope that we can get someone to make an expensive second best hand and win a much larger pot than we would win if we just 3-bet and then probably just get heads up against a regular. So I did just call. Now, had we been in the big blind and with multiple callers, of course, then we would squeeze. But when there's every play behind us to go to fish, then there's just not that many hands I'm going to be 3-betting versus under the gun. Almost none. Hopefully one of these guys 3-bets so we can just jam or re-raise them. If they don't, then we're going to be looking to stack up post flop versus any of these guys. So we do end up in a multi-way pot and we get a reasonable flop for our hand. Overpair, backdoor diamonds. This 2 just leads out. And I can't lie, I think I misplayed this hand significantly. I think we should just raise now. If he has a flush draw, he's not folding. If he has a queen, he's not folding. Obviously, if it's a deuce, he's not folding either. He shouldn't have that much deuce X. Like ace deuce offsuit. Just, you know, if he's the kind of guy who just randomly defends some other deuce X, yeah, and there'll be people who just turn up with 5-2, 4-2, 3-2, even 7-2 sometimes. If he's got a deuce, I should just take my meds. So I remember this hand now. I'm happy with my pre-flop decision, and the hand does have a happy ending. But I'm not. I think we should have. I think I missed 2 spots to raise. I think this is certainly a spot where we can raise. I elected not to though. Just called. He continues betting the turn, and again we need to raise here. Again, if he has a deuce, then fuck our lives. We're just going to go broke. He's bet relatively small. I think he's going to have a queen a lot. Deuce some of the time. Flush draw. Maybe not so much. I think maybe they just want to get called and they don't hit the turn. Maybe they check a bit with the flush draw. So I think his range here is going to be a lot of queen X and deuce X. Way more queen X and deuce X, obviously. I just call again. It was a very safe card. He leads out again, and look how quick I call. I'm disappointed with that. We should have jammed that river. There's only £6 left. If he's got a deuce, have another £6, sir. Go get yourself a fucking Chinese tomorrow or something. I was not happy with how quick. I remember when as soon as I made the call, I was like, you fucking dickhead. I don't care if he's got a deuce. You just need to jam there. He doesn't have ace 3. Not worried about that. Not worried about him having pocket 4s or pocket 5s. Yeah, I didn't play that one well. I think I absolutely 100%. If I was coaching somebody here and they played this hand, I'd be like, no, you've definitely left 625 on the table there. And I don't care if he's got a deuce. You know, most of the time you're losing 625 on the table. And yeah, would he have called the river? I think almost certainly. Would he have called if I raised the flop? Maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, but I think if we don't raise until the river, we should definitely raise the river there. And I think I made a mistake. Quite a big mistake too. So moving on to the last hand of the video. I think this is it anyway. Could be wrong. I'm going to go back to the ace queen. Here we are. So we flop. Again, heavily multi-way pot. Against any of these guys here, we're just... If they've got an 8, fuck our lives. We're just going to bet for value and enjoy our lives. So we do bet pretty big. Got a call. Do I go for the check jam here? Yeah, I was going for the check jam on the turn. Maybe hoping that he would just bet a worse queen if we check to him. Maybe he'd be like semi bluffs. I wasn't too worried. If he had an 8, tough shit. I wasn't that worried about giving up too much equity. Obviously, we're giving a free card to a flush draw, etc. But yeah, I was obviously going for a bit of a tricky check raise on the turn. And I then decided that if he checks the turn, he just doesn't have anything very often. So I'm not sure he can pay out on this river. If he has an 8 on the turn, for example, he's betting. If he has Jack 10 on the turn, he's betting. If he has a queen on the turn, maybe he's checking back. But he's going to bet a queen now. And we just jam anyway and chop the pot. So I kind of felt his range was quite weak here. Didn't think I could get paid. So I just decided to check and maybe allow him to. If he has got a hand like 6, 7 of clubs that just pot control the turn, give him a chance to bluff with a hand like that now. So I did check again. He did bet big. We jammed. And he called it off with pocket 10. So I think our turn check probably got us paid there. And yeah, I'm not really sure there's anything much to learn from that hand either. I think we probably could have maybe just gone bet shove and maybe he calls, but I think yeah, sometimes I just do things a bit different, and I'm not even sure why I did that then. To be honest with you, I didn't have a specific read on that player. I guess I just wanted to try and just like check jam and like, get value from Queen X. And if he's got an 8 or Jack 10, then just take my lumps again. I'm not sure why I checked it, but it worked out pretty nicely. But I do like my check on the river. Once he checks back the turn, I really like my check on the river, because I think he's just got a whole lot of nothing a lot of the time that just isn't going to be able to call a bet. So if I think a player's got nothing, all we can do is check and hope they make a mistake. And I just thought he made a pretty big one, and it worked out nicely for us. So there we go. First video back in a while. I hope some of you guys enjoyed it. I'm not sure it's everyone's cup of tea, but it's going to be the only cup of tea I'm making for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I'll be back with another one of these when I've got, 8-10 hands to look at, and we'll just make them as and when I have the material to make them. Take care everybody, and bye bye for now.